Hello, welcome to my stream. Also, kind of like a recording for those who listen to it later. I hope you enjoy it. Forget my husband, I'll go make money. Chapter 10. Episode 3, a fiancé with a business addiction. Will this marriage be okay? Business? Tarkan's gaze turned strange. Ah, no, I don't have a business addiction, or anything like that. Aristine hurriedly waved her hand. In this place, and even in her past life, which she saw through the Monarch side, business addiction was the root of all evil. I'm not asking you to lend me money. I'm not asking you to invest either, or saying, as long as you do this, it will be a big hit. Wait, no. Of course, there are things I think will be big. No, it's really not like that. Seriously. Can you stop talking can you stop looking at me like that? Don't tell me you want to use my private coffers for your business fund. I have to regulate this. Tarkan mumbled, avoiding her eyes. Money in the private coffers was money Aristine could definitely use as a member of the royal family after marriage. So he was basically saying he had to manage it before his future wife with a business addiction started wasting money. No, that's really not it. Aristine fervently denied it. Tarkan's gaze fell on her face. Her face was showing a little emotion, and her cheeks were flushed in a different way from before. It was a bit fascinating. And so his lips opened on the wrong, and uncharacteristically playful words left his mouth. So, if it isn't borrowing money, investing, or this is definitely a big hit, then is it going to be, please stamp your seal here? I said it's not, Aristine grumbled. The muscles on her face didn't move very much, but her lips were a bit poutier. Tarkan captured that image with his eyes. The both of us are politically entwined with this arranged marriage. Aristine claps her fingers together. So it would be nice to have a win-win relationship where we both help each other and both of us benefit. Not a personal relationship, but a business-like relationship. Aristine chose the best words to use. She was trying to say, love is unnecessary in our marriage, so let's deal with each other strategically. But she ended up getting treated like someone with a business addiction. It seems her lack of direct conversations with people was causing her to convey her message in a strange manner. But still, I think this was a good idea, right? He definitely couldn't say he didn't understand. A win-win, huh? It was quite daring. No one ever had the nerve to talk about a win-win to Tarkan. Tarkan curled his lips. His smile was ferocious. If that is possible, it'll be nice, I suppose. His tone was practically saying that will never happen. Certainly, I will be able to help you, but what about you? Tarkan looked down at Aristine. The look in his golden eyes was more carefree than arrogant. What can you do for me? Other people might shrivel at Tarkan's attitude, but Aristine was different. Rather than shrink away, she asked back, what do you want from me? To do nothing and just stay still. Oh my. Aristine covered her mouth with her hand and lazily exclaimed in admiration. I'm thankful for how you feel. I'm a little surprised. So she said, but Aristine's face didn't have the slightest thankfulness or surprise. It's not that I don't believe you if you say you fell at first sight, but still, our first meeting was like that. A situation where Aristine hadn't bathed for a month. Although I think one should respect people's diverse tastes. Aristine's eyes looked Tarkan up and down. I mean, earlier didn't you tell me not to misunderstand because you were ashamed of your tastes? Now that I think about it, they say a strong denial means a positive affirmation. Tarkan's head hurt as he watched the woman babble on. Seriously, what kind of woman was this? He had seen all kinds of people throughout his life, but this was his first time meeting such a person in all ages and gender. I did not mean I was satisfied for you to stay quietly by my side. I know. Aristine grinned, agreeing with Tarkan, who was speaking like he was forcing the words out. So Tarkan, a low, soft voice called his name. Her fine silver hair swayed along with her movements. Isn't there anything you want from me? Her mysteriously lit eyes fell on him. Come on, tell me already. I know what you want, somewhat. Aristine waited for Tarkan to hurry up and open his mouth. But for some reason, he just started blankly at her, then frowned and turned his head, as if he saw something he didn't want to see. It's not like you can do anything with those thin arms. They look like they can't even lift a fork, he mumbled. Indeed, in the eyes of Aragonians, the Sylvanus people were all thin and fragile. But I'm average for a Sylvanus. For someone who grew up in confinement from a young age and wasn't able to eat much, she was actually on the bigger side. Aren't you taking me too lightly? There is nothing you can do to help me. Tarkan ignored Aristine's grumbling. An arrangement where only one side contributes cannot be called a win-win situation, he declared. Then he asked Aristine, what's the difference between telling me to dive into a business that I will obviously lose out in, and asking me to stamp my seal on a contract without reading it? This bastard is treating me like a swindler. Aristine raised a brow. I see. You're fully positive I won't be able to help. Because it's true. I'm not liking this. Aristine tapped the teacup with her finger. At other times, she didn't care what the other party thought, or whether they disregarded her, but right now, she had to get Tarkan's cooperation. Will she still act like this after learning about me? The moment she revealed that she had the Monarch side, not just Tarkan, even the Emperor who had been harsh to her would treat her kindly, as if they had been friendly her entire life. Just imagining it made her angry. She felt her annoyance rise. Shouldn't he check what kind of cars I have at least? Tarkan might not have wanted it, but he agreed to this political marriage too. So they were politically partners now. This was a matter of courtesy. I will make this bastard get on his knees and beg to do business with me. After making such a resolve, Aristine poured the entire cup of cold tea down her throat. You're right. I should prove my ability first, before sitting down at the table to negotiate. Clatter. She placed the teacup carelessly on the table and rose to her feet. Let's go. Where? You have to check the product before stamping your seal. The princess wants to meet me? Yes, what shall I do? At the court's lady's words, the king of Irigo raised a brow. Originally, the plan was to have the Sylvanus delegation rest from the journey, then have an official audience with them tomorrow evening. Why does the princess want to see me separately? Karina, the second princess, who was massaging the king's shoulders, smiled sweetly and whispered in her father's ears, why don't you consider seeing her? Janika is also curious about what the rumored princess is like. The king's gaze turned to Karina. He already knew that she and several of his other children had gone to Tarkan's palace. It was obvious what intentions he had by telling him to receive the princess, because she was curious even though she had seen her. I believe it is the confined first daughter who came, not the second. And not only that, he came looking as bad as a street beggar. The king actually thought it was cute because it was so obvious that Karina was scheming, so he didn't scold her. Instead, he spoke to the court lady. Since I am not attending to official duties, I see no reason to refuse. Oh, Jay! Then Karina hugged the king's neck with a big smile on her face. Now, I can suppress that ugly and dirty princess as much as I want in front of royal father. Then Tarkan's reputation will also be dragged down. Then Karina was in a good mood, as she thought of the insult she could use to mock Aristine. Plus, if that ugly girl was next to her, it would help her stand out more. Then father will favor me even more. Because the king requested so adamantly for the princess of Sylvanus, then Karina had been nervous. But from what I saw, she's an idiot who is not even worth all that. She was thankful for that, but when she thought about how she couldn't sleep for a few days out of worry, she hated the princess. The price will definitely be paid. Then Karina gave one of the court ladies a look. Understanding what that meant, the court lady nodded slightly. The queen mumbled as she shut her fan. It is a sudden informal meeting, so it will be rather unusual if I go. Then, it should be fine since my adorable Jenica is there, but it will be good to have assistance, so send us 3 over. They are idle children, so it won't be strange for them to go there. Yes. The court lady bowed her head and left the queen's palace. Not long after, the princess and princesses headed to the king's palace at the queen's order. I'm looking forward to royal father's reaction. Indeed, I wonder what he'll think when he sees that beggar of a princess. You're going that far? I mean, she's still the direct descendant of Sylvanus' imperial family. She's a sewage rat, perfect for that lowly bastard. Hearing that, they snickered and laughed mockingly at Aristine. That said, I'm sure she's cleaned up by this point. Tarkan must have done his best to scrub off all the dirt and dress her up for the king to see. What's the use of that? No matter how much he tries to spoil her. Will she be that different? The main sense cannot be changed. Exactly. She couldn't even compare to her handmaids who were next to her. Imagine a maid look better than a princess. I heard the princess of Sylvanus is a beautiful woman, but they must have been talking about the second princess, not the first. Martin, you've met the second princess before, right? The second princess is definitely a beauty. She was an elegant, fine blonde. The typical Sylvanus woman. I guess not all sisters look alike. Must be because they're half-sisters. Poor Tarkan. He thought the second princess was pretty unpopular in the empire, would come, but that bump came instead. I heard that the first princess was locked up, because she's off in the head. Oh my, so she's lunatic? The faces of the prince and princesses were filled with obvious delight. Who knew how jealous they were when they heard that Tarkan, born from that lowly mother of his, would be marrying a noble imperial princess? Tarkan must be feeling anxious too. How can the princess be the one who wants an audience so suddenly? Tarkan probably wants to see his father, because he got such a defective product. He probably has no idea that Yakina is with father, right? He doesn't know we're coming either. Today is going to be really interesting. While they were talking, they arrived at the waiting room before they knew it. They watched the door open with huge, ridiculing smiles on their faces. They could see Tarkan's annoying, overbearing back. Sight they were unwillingly familiar with. And the sparkling silver hair next to him. Sparkling? That's the end of chapter 10. Chapter 11. A fiancé with a business addiction. Will this marriage be okay? Part 2. The silver hair gleamed as though sunlight was hovering over it. It looked even more vivid as it contrasted with the dark hair of Tarkan, who was sitting right next to it. No way. They tried to deny the possibility, but in this situation it was obvious who the owner of the silver hair was. Enter. Why are you standing there? The kings asked the 3 who were standing still. Only then did they come to their senses and walk towards the tea table. The closer they got to Aristine, the more their hearts stirred ominously, while they tried to push the feeling down. They were only surprised because the scene was a little different from what they expected, but it wasn't that odd. In that way, they comforted themselves several times. It's just silver hair. There's black hair, red hair, and even blonde hair. Of course, there are many people with silver hair. It's just an ordinary silver hair. Neither the shade nor the sparkle of the hair could be called ordinarily, so it wasn't just silver hair. There was a color that made you feel the scent of flowers just by looking at it. Right. So her hair was originally silver. I thought it was a dull gray, like dust. Well, that's possible. She did get washed. Hair. Yes. Just her hair. Right. No matter how much she cleans up, that face of hers won't suddenly turn pretty. After whispering to each other as such, their shrunken shoulders swelled up again. The fact that they had been flustered hurt their pride, so their tongues turned poisonous and they jeered at Aristine. I came to see royal father, but dear me, the rumored princess is also here? I didn't expect to see her here, so that surprised me. Like that? They made excuses for their post earlier. It's an honor to get to see her ahead of time, since she is the princess of the age-old empire. I expect she must be just as graceful and intelligent. Elder brother, you can just be honest. You're looking forward to how beautiful she is. After all, the Sylvanus imperial family is famous for their good looks. Ah, was it that obvious? I think Tarquin is very lucky. There was only one reason for them to praise Aristine so much, to raise her high, and even higher into the sky, then drag her into the map. The Sylvanus imperial family is one of the oldest bloodlines indeed. A noble blood with both beauty and talent. The first princess, haeon, who was smiling softly as she walked towards the tea table, paused when she saw Karina's face. Karina had a smile planted on her face as always. However, her smile was oddly stiff, and her complexion was a little pale. She should be enjoying this the most. Why is she? Something was strange. Ever since she saw Aristine's back, she had been pressing down the ominous feeling in her chest, telling herself it was okay. But the feeling kept growing. Now, it had grown so big that she couldn't push it down anymore. Something was definitely wrong. The moment she thought that, Aristine turned her around to look at them. Silver hair moved aside with a flutter, revealing a small face. Mysterious purple eyes veiled under long lashes, white cheeks that looked like whipped cream, and lips that looked as sweet as candy. Unlike the Irugonians who had strong features, her slender neck and limbs looked just like a fairy's. This is the beggar princess we saw earlier? Unconsciously, a groan leaked from her mouth. She already expected the princess to be clean by now. She expected her to dress up in fancy clothes and heavily adorn herself, but she thought it wouldn't change anything. The Aristine she saw earlier was just that messy and gross. No one could have imagined that beautiful woman, not just that, but beautiful enough to draw the eyes of everyone in the room at once, would be buried under that sight. I thought you said she's like a sewage rat. How should I know? A silent conversation went back and forth between them. Who? Aristine's mouth opened, and just hearing her voice felt unrealistic. The fact that the target of their admiration was alive, moving and responding to them, gave a completely different feeling from just calling her beautiful. I am Martin, the third prince of Irigo. It is an honor to meet you, princess. Martin, who had always been a womanizer, introduced himself to Aristine like he was possessed. He didn't even notice that Aristine's attitude when she asked who was like she was talking to people below her. Not even surprised. This fool has his brain between his legs, not his head. Haeon frowned and haughtily lifted her fan. I am the first Princess Palamian. I will let it go this time, but I expect you to mind your language next time, Princess. As if just think about it again made her speechless, Palamian exaggeratedly gave a ha and snorted. Ooh, she says. Surely we don't look like court ladies who came to serve. Yes, exactly. You're the Princess of Silvanus. Don't you know such basic manners? The fourth princess, Starline, made an expression like she couldn't believe it and glared at Aristine. Even when they criticized and looked down on her, Aristine's expression did not change. Forget change, she didn't even react. As a result, Palamian was the one who ended up shrinking back. She had obviously attacked, but the target just took it without even counterattacking. So it didn't feel like it did any damage. Rather, it just made her feel uncomfortable. It was only after enough silence passed that Aristine quietly opened her mouth. I think you have misunderstood what I said. I misunderstood? How is it a misunderstanding? It was an excuse so foolish it matched the rumors of the princess's stupidity. Palamian smirked, thinking that once Aristine responded, she would stomp her so deep into the ground that she wouldn't be able to raise her head again. I was not asking you who you were. I was talking to myself, wondering who you were, because I felt like I've seen you somewhere before. The moment she heard Aristine's reply, Palamian couldn't say anything. Instead, she pretended to fan herself, half covering her tingling face. I didn't think she remembered my face. In the middle of that chaos, Palamian and Martin were among the royal family members who went to Tarquin's palace to watch Aristine's arrival. There's no way, right? She must have passed me somewhere before. That's why she feels like she's seen me, right? She had really seen the princess earlier, and even loved her. However, when she entered the tea room just now, she acted like she knew nothing and was just seeing the princess for the first time. So the moment she got caught, she would look ridiculous, and in front of royal father too. She couldn't do anything that would earn her father's disapproval. In the end, if she kept digging into things here, she would be the one at a disadvantage, so she had no choice but to shut her mouth. Right. I'm sure she doesn't know. I heard she wasn't even properly educated or taught to deal with people because she was confined. Naturally, she doesn't know how to talk in circles. Like that, Palamian calmed her agitated mind. I'm sure she just asked without thinking, because she thought I looked familiar, but just in case. Seeing Palamian covering her face and fanning herself furiously while acting innocent, Tarquin laughed under his breath. It was amusing to see the first princess, who always went around with her head held high, standing there unable to say anything. That's the end of chapter 11. Chapter 12. A fiancé with a business addiction. Will this marriage be okay? Part 3. I didn't know this would happen. Aristine was the main descendant of the Silvanus imperial family, which had been around for almost 1,000 years, and she was born with the noblest and most precious bloodline. Naturally, Tarquin expected her to despise him for being born from a low-born mother. Even his half-brothers and half-sisters despised him. For Aristine, it could only be more contempt. He didn't expect it to be any less. Of course, when he actually met her, he figured that it might not be the case. Indeed. Tarquin has many people under his command, but he was used to solving everything himself. He thought that no matter what Aristine did, there was no way it would benefit him. However, if she kept showing him such interest in his sins, he might just change his mind. Ah, even your excuses are ridiculous. Who talk to themselves like that? Instead of admitting your faults, you're just making excuses. It makes me doubt if you're really from a royal family. The fourth princess, Starline, snorted and glared at Aristine. All right, didn't you say she was dumb? And a buffoon? Who wasn't even treated like a princess? Estrelina giggled, and her lips curled even more when she saw Aristine looking straight at her. What? I was talking to myself, too. Once she heard her younger sister's word, Elamian wanted to cover up her head. This stupid and thankless younger sister of hers had caused trouble again. It's okay. If the princess really doesn't remember, then it's not actually any trouble. With that thought in mind, Pelamian tried to maintain her composure. Actually, since it was Her Majesty the Queen who sent us to bother the princess, it might turn out fine instead, unless Aristine remembers seeing her, and Martin before, that is. There were so many people there, and the servants were there too. How can she possibly remember? Besides, we didn't even make eye contact in that mess. Despite thinking that, Pelamian secretly glanced at Aristine to study her. He couldn't read anything from the expression in his face, let alone anger, so she couldn't tell what the princess was thinking at all. Your Highness Martin. Aristine called the third prince Martin. Not bothering to deal with Esterline, having been disregarded, Esterline's face burned red. In contrast, Martin looked at Aristine with a dreamily dazed look on his face. Haven't we met before? Her violet eyes, with a profound mixture of blue and red hue, looked like they contained the universe. Even the elegant eyes that held those irises curved slightly to smile at him. Martin began nodding unconsciously. Yes, I think we have. No, we definitely must have met. I've been to Sylvanus before, so... Martin grew smiley in the blink of an eye and began to babble about what he wasn't even asked. I'm honored you still remember me, princess. Then again, I have a face you won't forget once you see it. Of course. Martin had never seen Aristine in Sylvanus, but when such a beautiful woman asked if they had ever met, what man could say no? Indeed, I'm better than Tarkan, that bastard. Martin was elated by his whole delusion. I doubt it. I don't think I met you in Sylvanus, but somewhere else. Aristine gave a sweet smile and looked straight at Martin. Somewhere else? A dream? Did you see me in your dream? I felt like I had the same dream too. Pelamian wanted to muzzle Martin's mouth. You remember seeing me and Martin in Tarkan's palace. Pelamian was sure of it now. The princess knew, and that's why she was acting this way. I heard she was stupid because she wasn't taught anything, and went crazy because she was confined. But, in reality, the princess was nothing like that. Rather, she was smart to a scary extent. She's only telling me she has a car, but she's not actually using it. Rather than expending the card in your hand, it was better to use it to deal with your opponent. In this situation, you had no choice but to continue being careful with Aristine, as long as Aristine had that hand. Pelamian glanced at her father to see what he was thinking. He looked like he had no intention to intervene. However, he's looking at the princess. Not only that, his gaze had quite some interest. Pelamian pursed her lips tightly. Even if father knows, but is acting like he doesn't know about what happened in Tarkan's palace. The story changes once the princess mentions it. The king would no longer be able to act like he knew nothing about the event, although he could side with his daughter and let it go with a small punishment. Right now, royal father is obviously curious about how the princess will act. Aristine gave a satisfying result. He would definitely take her side. Let's play safe. The best option here was to make sure Aristine didn't have to use the card in her hand. As soon as that thought crossed her mind, Esterline opened her mouth. What is this? Are you flirting with another man in front of the person you're to marry? No matter how many times I pointed out, you're still so vulgar. Esterlina! Pelamian raised her voice, cutting off Esterlina's words. Startled, Esterlina almost jumped in surprise and turned to look at Pelamian, her first sister, who was always gentle to older siblings except Tarkan, actually yelled at her. The princess is only asking a question. How can you call her flirting with another man? What exactly are you seeing with your eyes? But, elder sister, she's the one who's wagging her tail. You're still going about that? Reality will not bend to fit what you think. What? Elder sister, that's too much. What is too much? Tell me. Go on. The threatening rhetoric made Starlina flinch, and she shut her mouth. I'm pointing out your mistake, but instead of admitting it, you're talking back to me. Starlina lowered her head, not replying. Seeing that, Alemian clicked her tongue under her breath. She shouldn't cause any more trouble in here after that. She had been somewhat harsh, but as long as she could block Starlina's mouth, she had succeeded. Use this opportunity to look far back and reflect on your usual behavior. Starlina pursed her lips stubbornly. She felt bitter, hurt, and angry. She couldn't believe Palemian was getting mad at her in this situation. Wasn't her elder sister the type who was kind enough to let it go even if she crossed the line a little? Why me? Starlina! Palemian urged her to reply. Starlina clenched her fist tightly. She was so angry right now, but she couldn't act stubborn anymore. I understand. I will reflect on it, Your Highness, First Princess. Although her heart was full of resentment, Starlina bowed her head towards Palemian. That was a clean shot. Tarkan felt like applauding. Aristine hunted her enemy so spectacularly that calling it great wasn't enough. And she didn't even have to raise a hand. Even for Tarkan, who was only interested in hunting demonic beasts and had no interest in this kind of human hunting, he felt it was nice enough to raise his admiration. In the eyes of Tarkan, the warrior among warriors, Aristine was really a great hunter. If this place was the plane of demonic beasts, and Aristine's catch was a demonic beast, he would definitely want to take her under his command right away. Tarkan's golden eyes swept over Aristine's side profile. He wondered where she hid such aggression in this delicate and fragile face of hers. The more he saw her, the more he couldn't figure out about her. That's the end of chapter 12. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope my voice sounds better. Thanks for watching, and again, I hope you guys will support the original work, anyone who's able to. Thank you very much.